Hello and welcome. If you're anywhere past the age of 35, you should probably think of this as your new user's guide. We're going to break down exactly what's happening inside your body and, way more importantly, how you can absolutely master this next chapter. So let's dive right in.
Does it ever feel like one day things just changed? All of a sudden recovery takes a little longer, you get that afternoon energy dip, and the things that used to work just don't anymore? Look, if you felt like the instruction manual for your body got a surprise update overnight, you are not imagining it. You're actually right on schedule.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about what this 35 shift actually is. Then, we're going to pop the hood and look at your metabolic engine and the framework, your muscles and bones. After that, we'll check in on our internal systems, and then we'll get to the most important part, the exact steps you can take back control.
All right, first up, the 35 shift. And I want to be super clear about this. It is not just a feeling. This is a real, measurable, biological turning point.
You see, for the first few decades of our lives, our body is basically optimized for growth and peak performance. But right around 35, our biology starts to shift its priorities. The main focus moves from building and expanding to maintenance and, management. It's a totally natural transition, and just understanding it is the key to navigating it really well.
And that brings us to Section 2. Your changing engine. I want you to think of your metabolism as the engine that powers literally everything you do. And after 35, that engine it starts to run a little bit differently.
And this gets us to a really key concept, your basal metabolic rate, or BMR. The easiest way to think about it is it's the energy your body needs just to keep the lights on, powering your heart, your lungs, your brain, even when you're just sitting on the couch. Starting in our mid-30s, this baseline energy burn naturally begins to slow down.
So, why? Why does it slow down? Well, a few things are happening all at once. Our bodies can become a little less responsive to insulin, which makes it easier to store energy as fat, especially around the middle. At the same time, digestion and how we absorb nutrients can get a bit less sufficient. And what's the combined result of all that? It's that general dip you might be feeling in your day-to-day energy.
Now, all those factors are part of the story, for sure. But there is one single primary driver behind that metabolic downshift. And the best news, it is the one thing you have the most direct control over. So what is it?
The answer is a word you're going to hear a lot, sarcopenia. It's just the fancy term for the natural age-related loss of muscle mass. Here's why this is so important. Muscle is metabolically expensive. It's like a furnace that's just burning calories 24/7, even when you're resting. So as you lose muscle, that metabolic furnace shrinks and your BMR drops. This is it. This is the crucial takeaway. Protecting and building muscle is the #1 key to keeping your engine running strong.
And that leads us perfectly into our next section, the body's framework. We're talking about the very structure that holds you up and moves you through the world every single day. I mean, this slide says it all, right? In your 20s, you're at your structural peak. Muscles are strong, bones are dense, and you bounce back from anything. But after 35, that trend starts to reverse. Muscle mass and bone density begin a slow, gradual decline. Recovery from a tough workout takes a little longer, and your joints might just feel a bit stiffer in the morning.
So when you look at that, it's pretty easy to think, okay, well, this decline is just inevitable. But does it have to be? Is losing our strength just a part of aging that we all have to accept? No, absolutely not. And honestly, this might be the most empowering message in this whole explainer. Of all the changes that come with age, muscle loss is one of the most reversible. The science is crystal clear on this. Strength training isn't just helpful, it is the direct biological countermeasure to this entire process.
Okay, let's move on to Section 4, the internal systems. Because while we can feel changes in our muscles and joints, there is a lot happening under the surface that we really need to be aware of. Take a look at this chart. It shows the typical decline in something called VO2 max. All that is a measure of the maximum amount of oxygen your body can use during intense exercise. It's basically the gold standard for your cardiovascular fitness. And as you can see, there's a noticeable drop after our peak years. This matters because a lower VO2 max directly impacts your stamina and your long-term heart health.
And it's not just our aerobic capacity. This table highlights some other key internal markers. Blood pressure tends to creep up. Key hormones start to decline, which affects our energy and our mood. Our body's stress response system can get a little out of whack, and low-grade inflammation often increases. Now, these aren't separate issues. They are all connected. And that's why they are the critical silent markers to keep an eye on with your doctor.
Which brings us to our final, and I think most important section, taking back control. We've talked about the what and the why. Now let's get to the how. This is your practical toolkit.
Let's be really clear here. The biological shifts are real. I'm not downplaying them, but they are not your destiny. Your daily choices, your lifestyle habits, are the single most powerful levers you have to influence how you age. They can slow and, in many cases, even reverse these trends.
So what's in this toolkit? It really boils down to 4 key areas. Number 1, no surprise, is prioritizing strength training to rebuild that metabolic furnace. 2 is mastering your sleep. It is non-negotiable for recovery and hormone balance. 3, adopting smart nutrition to support your body's changing needs and to fight that inflammation. And 4, proactively managing your stress to protect your internal systems from the inside out.
And really, it all comes down to this number, 4. You don't need 100 different life hacks or complicated protocols, just focusing consistently on these 4 foundational habits. Strength, sleep, nutrition, and stress management is going to give you the biggest possible return on investment for your health and longevity after 35.
So, yeah, the biological rulebook may have changed, but now you're the one holding the pen. You have the knowledge and you have the tools. The next 10 years are not something that just happens to you. You get to decide how they unfold. So, your next decade is coming. How are you going to write its rules?